Amazing. Ooh, we're pinned. Love that
Hmm.
for us.
Fancy.
Fancy, fancy.
Mhm. All right, let's give it about 2 more minutes, everyone, and then we can get started at 5:05 just to give anyone else some time who's trickling in. But in the meantime, because we have a super exciting panel for us today, where entrepreneurship, aerospace, and AI meets. It's a critical session for everybody. I know people like to travel. You might be traveling for the upcoming holidays, so maybe hop in the chat, let us know where you're tuned in from, and let us know if you have any travels coming up. I think that can be a fun way to get everyone engaged, thinking about aerospace and flight travels, maybe. And you can learn more about what Nimbus Aerospace has cooking up. They might be able to help your flight go smoother, or at least the whole logistics of it all. So
We are taking pre-sales, so we can give you a steep discount on our aircraft if you sign an
Ooh.
LOI during today's call.
we love to see it.
Should it be hashtag venture for them, the discount code?
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like it.
Love that. I love that. And I love that question as well. As a proud traveler, I'm
Mm.
currently in London right now. So
You say you're in London?
yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's fire. Please
Yeah.
enjoy. How's the weather? Every time I go to London, I feel like it's always raining on me.
Oh, it's always cold for me, always
Yeah.
raining for me as well. So I feel that. I feel it.
Still a good time though. Always a
Mhm.
good time over there.
Yeah. And then I was just in Amsterdam as well. There's this like aerospace conference. Okay, shout out to Long Beach,
Long Beach
California.
in the building. Come on, Long Beach.
Small staycation to Sedona coming up.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay. I like it. I like it.
It's
Anyone
warm
else?
there. I love
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. I love that for you. Anyone else? Any good travels coming up? Where you tuned in from? Don't be scared. I want this to be fun, engaging. At any point, hop in the chat, ask questions, because this can be an interesting panel for everyone. Like we said, folks like to travel. They're maybe just curious about what the future of travel looks like. And so that all ties into the AI space, entrepreneurship space. So feel free to hop in the chat. Let us know where you're tuned in from and any travels you may have coming up or travels that you just got back from. Folks may have traveled for Thanksgiving or whatever it may be. So
Cool,
feel free to
cool.
let us know.
Amazing. Ooh, we got B more.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I know Vegas was fun. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's coming up in January for CES. Yep. That should be awesome. Okay.
NYC.
I've always wanted to do New York for New Year's. I feel like the number of people might be overwhelming, but let me know how it goes. That's on my bucket list.
That is facts.
Okay. Shout out to LA. I love
PT.
it. Come on, well-traveled group. This you got a good session for us. A well-traveled group.
We love to see it.
Also, please, as folks are connecting, feel free to drop your LinkedIn's in the chat. We want everybody to stay connected as well. You never know whose path could, be of benefit to whatever you're building or, some type of mutual support that you all may have. So please feel free to drop your LinkedIn's and stay connected with everyone as well. But I know we are about a little over 5 minutes in. So Adrian, if you two are good, I think we can kick this baby off.
Let's go. Let's get it.
All right, let's get it, everybody. First and foremost, happy Thursday. We're super excited to welcome you to Infinity and Beyond, where aerospace, entrepreneurship, and AI meets. So, super excited for our session today as a collaboration with both Nimbus Aerospace and Venture for Them. And so, we'll talk more about our company soon, but I want to introduce a heavy hitter panelists for you all today. First, I want to highlight the legends. The CMO of Nimbus Aerospace, founder of Niger.com, L Power. She's one of our HBCUniverse 30 under 30 honorees. Big deal. Very, very big deal. But also, on top of that, Forbes 30 under 30 honoree. Please show her some love. And a Black Ambition Prize winner on top of that. For real, cut that check. Shout out to Pharrell, Felicia, and the team, and everything that Anah's doing. So super excited to have her with us today. And then next up, the man, the myth, the legend, we have Adrian. He is the co-founder and CEO of Nimbus Aerospace. He's a Techstars alum, former product manager at Solo Funds, and he's a former technical support specialist at Platform Science. So this guy is the real deal. The resume is heavy for both of them, and so excited to have both of them today, just dropping gems for you all, sharing more about what Nimbus Aerospace does, and then on top of that, how that correlates to your journey. Whether it's inspiration through your entrepreneurship journey, or just as we had mentioned, maybe learn a bit more about where the future of travel looks like for everyone. So very, very important topic today at a variety of levels. As we had mentioned, please don't hesitate to drop any questions in the chat. We'll typically save those for the last 15 minutes of the session, but you can put them there at any point just so you don't forget them and we can come back to the questions. And so I'm excited for it today. And also, of course, I am Kiante Bush. For those who don't know, I am the founder and CEO of Venture for Them, a co-founder of HBCUniverse, and another Black Ambition Prize winner as well. So pleasure to be here with you all today. And so, without further ado, I will pass it over to you, E, and then you, Adrian, and just tell them a bit more about who you are and what you do. I just gave the high level roles, titles, quick resume, but you can tell them a lot more in depth of what wakes you up, what gets you up in the morning, excited to do what you do. So I'll pass it over to you, E, to kick it off.
Wow. First of all, I just want to say that intro was beautiful. That was one of the best intros I've ever received. Honestly, you summed it up, but I'll just dive into your question on like what brings me excitement for this, and then also Adrian can answer it as well as like what is Nimbus for everyone who doesn't know. But what excites me about this whole experience is honestly speaking with our community. So everyone who's watching right now, this is what gives me excitement. Like just being amongst our peers, fellow change makers, that's everything for me. So I'll pass the mic to Adrian.
Yeah, Anna, we're very happy to have her. You definitely made her look very, very cool. And, that's why we wanted her on the team. We need someone with that skill. So, um, but thank you for having us. I think what excites me about this journey that we're currently on is that there are not a lot of people that look like us in the aerospace industry. And that frankly is a problem because there's so much change happening right now. And I think we need diversity in thought and leadership to make that change happen. So, like, I grew up fortunate that when I saw an airplane fly overhead, I always thought, maybe I could be working on one of those someday. I think not enough people think that. And our goal in Nimbus is not just to build an aircraft, it's also to make sure that when anyone, wherever they are, sees an airplane or maybe a fancy car or whatever it is, and they're excited about it, then they ask, why not me? Rather than making up an excuse for why they can't be doing that. So that's what gets me excited and keeps me motivated to build Nimbus.
I love that. I love that. The representation of it all, the energy of the culture of everyone being here on this call, just supporting, it's a beautiful thing to see. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for our next question. So just to break the ice a bit, one of my first questions is if you could describe your entrepreneurial journey with one song, what would it be?
I like this question. I would say Crazy by Doechii, but in a good way.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think it's like upbeat energy, control chaos, just, a lot going on, but in a productive way. So I would say, yeah, Crazy by Doechii.
I like that. And shout out to Doechii holding it down for the lyricist. She definitely been getting her flowers, so we love to see it. Talk to us, Adrian. What song you got on mind that would describe your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so I think I would say All I Need Is a Miracle by Mike plus the
Okay.
Machine, I believe it is.
Yep.
I think mainly because you look at when you start a company, and I think the number one reasons companies fail is because market timing isn't correct, but there's also an element of luck in there. And I think some of the best advice I ever got was do things to create luck. And so I kind of come back to that song. So
I love that. I love that. For me, it would have to be something from Nipsey, honestly. I loved Victory Lap through my entrepreneurial journey. I played a lot of Nipsey Hustle, Victory Lap, and Hustle and Motivate was always one. I would just be up late night, just crunching through business plans, and I was always one of them in the back, just playing on the speaker. So that might be one of mine, Hustle and Motivate. But I love both of you all's songs. I think that was a fun one to kind of let people take a different layer of peeking into, just your music taste, your entrepreneurial spirit. So I like it. I like it. Next up, I got one more icebreaker, and then we'll get into the content of it all. My next icebreaker is, when did this entrepreneurial journey take flight for you? What did that beginning look like? And then, in other words, what is your why? What is your North Star for what you all do with not just Nimbus Aerospace, but just in general, all of the different entrepreneurial facets of your life? What inspired that? What is your why?
Yeah, I like this question as well. For me, I started working at a young age. So around 13, 14, I had a neighbor that approached me and was just like, hey, my kids are like failing in math. You seem smart. Can you tutor our kids? So I'm like, okay, yeah, like, money, I can buy shoes, food, all the different things. So I was like, okay, I can just teach math to kids. And so that was like my light bulb moment of like, huh, okay, someone can pay me for my services. What would that look like if I replicated that model with other people? And so that kind of gave me my first taste of like entrepreneurship. And so kept that going. So been an entrepreneur basically ever since, if we don't take it back that far. But I would say my why, like for me, I love creating and I love creating with others. I feel like some of the best opportunities you'll ever create are the ones you create or co-create with other people. So that's my why, creating and then also building with others. So yeah.
Yeah, so this might age me a little bit, but I used to want an iPod. That's all I ever wanted. And my parents did not want me to have an iPod. So in order to get an iPod, I had to save up to buy one. I had the brilliant idea in fourth grade to start selling paper footballs to my classmates. And I started a company called Age Co. Age is my nickname. And so we added Co to Age Co. And within about 2 months, I had employed my entire class, and we were churning about 10,000 paper footballs out every month. It got to the point where the principal had to call my parents into the office, and we had to shut down the business. But ever since then, I've just been wanting to. I just love that the thrill of starting something and then bringing people on and strategizing. It was just so much fun. So that's kind of where my entrepreneurship journey started.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of the why, it's just there are so many problems to solve in the world, and I would rather be doing something big than working
Yeah.
for someone else. So that's my honest answer.
Yeah. And I respect it. And I love it because you're not constrained, by the impact that you want to make. You can pave your own lane, build your own legacy. So I love that. And it sounds like from the two of you that, it was just that hustle of wanting more. Wanting more, whether it was that iPod or whether it was, just wanted to, just make a bit more on the side. And so I love that. And I think that a lot of people relate to that. Do we have any other entrepreneurs on the call? Please feel free to hop in the chat and drop it in there and maybe let us know some of your thoughts, maybe what your why is. If you got a song that, embodies your entrepreneurial spirit. As we answer some of these as well, please drop it. Shout out to Aria. Okay, so we definitely got some founders on. So I know that a lot of you all can relate on just wanting to chase that legacy or even just starting as a side hustle to bring in some extra funds, but now something that evolved into way bigger than what we could have imagined. So I love it. Okay, Candyman, Antoine. I think a lot of us started as the Candyman too. That was one of my first as an entrepreneur. I joined a young entrepreneurs club at middle school, and yeah, that's literally what we did. We helped them run the candy shop, and they helped us to budget and get innovative with the marketing and get folks in there. So definitely can relate to some of those early beginnings. And look at us now. So you just never know what it could become. Shout out to Larry June. That's a good one too. Larry has some good entrepreneurial classics. Shout out to Jay. I love it. Selling chips and honey buns. That's good stuff. So awesome. We got a good group, man. Good engaging group. So I think we can dive into the good stuff. And so just to kick things off, I want to talk more about the convergence of sectors since we are talking about aerospace, entrepreneurship, and AI and how all of those three collectively work together. And of course, it's not a new phenomenon, right? We've been watching Lockheed and Boeing and how they have autonomous flight components and things of that nature. But AI is just in such an advanced space, especially for the everyday user like us, to where it's so mind blowing. Every day I'm looking at what Sora 2 is doing and your new Gemini 3.0, I think, and Claude, and it's moving so rapidly and at the I guess the essence of our fingertips now. And so it's just awesome to see just the growth of it all. And so my question is just seeing all of these components, aerospace, AI, and entrepreneurship blending together, from your vantage point, what does this convergence unlock that was previously impossible? And who stands to benefit first?
That's a great question. Um, I think it unlocks a lot of accessibility, right? Especially in this industry. Like for those who don't know, a lot of people can leverage AI to censor data from like satellites, aircrafts, spacecrafts. And so this is something that used to be extremely tedious and it required a lot of physical effort and like large amounts of teams and it would take hours. But with that introduction of AI, that helps to simplify that process, like reducing the time, reducing the amount of that. And so that benefits companies, it benefits consumers as well. But again, it ties back into that accessibility. Just having a lot more of it has been beneficial for our society. So.
I think, yeah, like what Anna said, it makes it more accessible. But I think when you think about like aerospace in general, the price of an aircraft ticket, of an airplane ticket has come down a lot, right? But it can continue to fall. And one way to do that is by making aircraft cheaper, to like producing them cheaper. A second way to do that is by making them more fuel efficient so the price goes down, and then eventually making them fully electric or fully hydrogen, right? And AI enables us to do that by making the program development costs significantly less. And then you can also do things like using automation to produce the aircraft cheaper. So it's cheaper for the airline or operator to purchase the aircraft. So I think that's how AI is going to benefit society as a whole. But then
Yeah.
when you think about it from like an engineering standpoint, AI is not necessarily going to be replacing jobs. It's going to be supplementing jobs, right? So one of the ways that we use AI is by helping us bring the aircraft to market faster, which helps us as a company as well.
Definitely. I feel like the game-changing speed of it all, the efficiency, the enhancement of safety, will definitely be something amazing that we'll see, especially in the next 5 years to come. It's almost difficult to fathom what that'll even look like, just how crazy everything's moving in terms of speed. But great answers, great answers. Next, I want to talk a bit more about the founder's journey, yours journey, specifically in relation to Nimbus Aerospace. And so, for those who don't know, and I know you all gave a high-level overview, but more as a recap of it, Nimbus Aerospace is, of course, building hybrid electric aircraft. And so, one of the most ambitious entrepreneurial paths imaginable, essentially. So, what were some of the earliest signals or moments that convinced you that this was actually possible? I'm sure people may have told you, "Hey, this is not going to work." Do you know? Do you know how much capital you even need to get a start on this, or the tech that you need, or this, or whatever it may be? So, I'm sure you may have gotten some no's, some doubts, and so, what were those earliest signals that convinced you that this was actually possible?
I think when we started out in Nimbus about 2 years ago, it really just came as kind of like the technology's available to do this. Uh, and it's a very large market. So let's go ahead and try to do it. So when you dive deeper into that, the core idea of Nimbus is that you can take a conventional fixed wing aircraft, so it looks like something that's already flying, and you can just use technology available today to optimize it to make it more fuel efficient. And when you do that, you're able to bring an aircraft to market faster and cheaper than people building things like blended wing or eVTOLs because our aircraft follows a clear certification path. Now, the benefit of this is that, yeah, it is capital intensive, but it's going to cost less than someone doing something more extreme than what we're doing. And so when we found out the technology was available, then we just needed to figure out, okay, what market do we go after next? And we found that the private jet market is growing. It's growing quite fast. Private aircraft are horrible for the environment. They are still being built based off of decade-old designs. And users have some quite significant pain points like high fuel costs and high maintenance costs. And the current manufacturers, they are addressing those, but they have such large backlogs that they need to meet current demand and they can't meet current demand. So we figured there was a way for a new entrant. There's actually, multiple new entrants can enter into this space, right? And that's kind of how we decided to tackle it. So yeah, we did get told no a ton of times, and I think the thing that you just have to keep doing is if you believe in your market, and that relies on having sound data and the technology is available, and you can prove the technology is available through tests and whatnot, then you just have to ask yourself, why not me? Someone else is going to do it, so why shouldn't that person be me?
Yep.
So
I agree, and I love it. And you even touched on this a bit more, Adrian, but just having that representation. There's not a lot of folks who look like us doing what you guys are doing. And so who knows, you could be on this call and power someone else and a random attendee of saying, hey, I can do something like this too. Or even if it's a completely different industry, just hearing all of the no's that you received, but you still kept it pushing. And now look what you're bringing it to fruition. So it's awesome to see. But I know you came off mute, E, in case you wanted to add a bit more.
No, I was just gonna echo what Adrian was saying and just retweet that because it's really important.
Yeah,
He took all
absolutely.
he took all the words out of my mouth.
Yep. And so I know even with the nose, just seeing how the tech was evolving, as you said, definitely helped shift the trajectory of knowing that this was possible. So I want to double down a bit more on that tech component, especially in relation to AI, essentially as a teammate. Thinking of AI as a teammate. And so I would love if you guys could share with the audience a bit more about how AI has shaped your product roadmap, the engineering cycles, any of the compliance processes, and maybe in ways that helped the traditional tools or even exceeded the traditional tools.
Yeah, that's another good question. These are all good questions. I think one of the biggest opportunities is democratization. It's no
Yeah.
longer an internal tool. So it's helping to save a lot of time, a lot of money. In our space, it helps to process large amounts of data at scale. Especially when you're certifying something, it takes a lot of documentation. So utilizing AI to help to like break down its complex workflows and just deal with large amounts of data, just going through it much quicker, and then also leveraging that intelligence piece of it as well, especially as it pertains to regulation. It's very, very important.
Yeah, the only thing I would add here is that AI isn't really shaping our product roadmap. Um, at the end of the day, like we are building an aircraft, we're just using AI to help build the aircraft faster, but AI is not helping us design the aircraft. It's like what Anna mentioned, it's helping us get the aircraft certified. So in terms of how that fits into our roadmap, we have milestones of how we want the AI to, our tool called ACT to advance. But in terms of milestones of how we want to branch it out to other sectors, that's not currently on our roadmap.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to add on as well. I know we're talking about agentic AI, but I also want to spotlight generative AI. And so on the marketing side, we leverage AI for like content creation. So recently we were experimenting with Flow. I don't know if anyone in the chat has used Flow through Gemini, to create like
Mhm.
3D visuals. And so for instance, like one of like our software platform that we're building, like we created like a reel, and I'll drop that link in the chat towards the end of this panel. But in the reel, like I leveraged Flow to create like the 3D visuals and stuff like that. That has been super, super helpful when it comes to showing like, the visuals, like a clear aesthetic. And again, it's like simplifying it, like prompting, right? Now, I'm not saying we should replace video editors. I'm not saying that for all the creatives. That's not, not what I'm saying. But it's kind of like just leveraging it to go along with your content creation needs. So that's been super, super helpful as well.
Yeah. And I love the disclaimer. We got to protect the creatives. I'm absolutely with you. But I do love the shameless plug of different tools because a lot of times folks, I feel like they kind of gatekeep the tools they use in some type of way. So I love the transparency of it. And I know you said you'll drop the link because I'm sure there's some people who are online and curious of just different tools that can help enhance whatever industry they're building in. So shout out to the transparency with using Flow and how that's been able to optimize the process for you guys. So I love that. I know you all touched base on this a bit earlier too, just that barrier of entry into aerospace. Just talking about your specific industry, because we know that there are many other industries where, it isn't as capital reliant in some regard. I mean, when you think about maybe some things like SaaS, software as a service, and maybe just, how folks are using Claude and Replit and Codex, and how now you can get an MVP of an app, up and running in like 24 hours or less sometimes. And so when we think about this bold industry that you all have decided to pursue in terms of aerospace, I'd love to know more about. We know some of the massive barriers of entry, including like capital and development life cycles, regulatory hurdles. I know that's a huge one, right? And so, for you all, not even necessarily for you all in general in aerospace, but just as founders across the board, for emerging founders, what are the real barriers? There are some barriers that are more of myths, and some are actual reality of barriers. I'd love for you all to talk more about that, whether it's specifically for Nimbus or just for founders at large, just trying to navigate this current ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll just quickly touch on some
Mhm.
financial barriers and then move into the other part of that question. But I think the the nice thing is that it's actually much cheaper to start an aerospace company than what a lot of people think, which I know that sounds totally insane, but one of the first things that we did at Nimbus was do everything you can do for free, right? And so in order our first test was a wind tunnel test. That test cost us about $3,000, including 3D printing a model. And we used that data uh, to help us optimize our airframe, and that got us into Techstars, right? So it's not as expensive to get started in this space as many would assume. Where it starts to get expensive is when you start actually building, prototypes. So right now it's expensive, but to get to this stage, it's much less money than what a lot of people assume. So that is the benefit. Um, but yeah, so and then
Yeah.
oh sorry.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your
Okay.
point.
So that was my point on the funding. The second point in terms of
Mhm.
real barriers, right? I think a lot of people assume that when you're building an aircraft, in order for people to buy it, it has to look very futuristic. It has to be supersonic, or it has to be hypersonic, or it has to be an eVTOL. The reality is that people that are buying aircraft don't really care about those things as much as people assume that they do. What they want is an aircraft that is more fuel efficient and cheaper to own. And then second is that people think that, and this I guess kind of goes back to the first point in terms of like a barrier to entry, timelines, right? It doesn't need to take decades to build something. If it takes decades to build something, if you're building something that has fundamentally never been done before, and it kind of starts out as a science project. But if you're just taking something and optimizing it, making it significantly better, then the myth is that it's going to take decades to do. You can actually do it much faster. So,
Yeah, honestly, I'll keep it brief and I'll just add on to that because again, Adrian mentioned a lot of the points. Like fundraising can be tedious and soul crushing for a lot of people. And we talk about this as well, but investors look at things from a qualitative and quantitative lens. Like years ago, we would all hear like about the stories of like, oh, this founder got funded with a napkin, like an idea that he wrote on a napkin or she wrote on a napkin. Whereas like in today's age, you hear less of those stories. Like the criteria and the standards are a bit longer. Again, sometimes the process is a bit more painful. And I would just recommend for founders, just in the state that we're at today, just knowing your numbers is super, super helpful. So again, when you're building out your deck, like financial projections, business model, it's key. It's not enough to just have a cool idea, especially in this society, especially if you are an underrepresented founder. So that's just something that's really, really important. And the space has a lot of versatile opportunities nowadays, different methods of funding that you can explore, different firms that you can approach. So again, it's just like those are the things that exist. So there are barriers, but also you can do your due diligence as well.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
kind of to touch a little bit more on what Anna said, it's that you're going to see people raising money, and you're going to look at their product, and you're going to think your product is superior, right? Uh, you can't let that get to you because there's always going to be someone out there that's going to raise more. They're going to raise faster. They're going to get better publicity. At the end of the day, all you can do is focus on what you're doing and try to do the best, and hopefully, the results should come. But yeah, just don't. Reading TechCrunch is great. Reading Product
Yes.
Hunt is great, but do not get caught up in that. Don't feel bad if you read that and your competitors just raised around and you're struggling to raise around. It's just noise, right? Just cut the noise out.
Yeah. That's good. That's some really good feedback in this question. Even to your point, your most recent point, Adrian, not getting lost in the sauce of watching everyone else. The thief of joy is comparison. And I feel like we often face that in this entrepreneurial journey of, oh, they're moving so fast, they're raising so much. And then you get discouraged and burn yourself out. So I think, just focusing in on what's for you is already for you is super critical. And then E, you touched base on a good point of knowing those numbers. Those metrics matter. I think early, 2020, 2021 to 22, maybe that cash flow was very different in terms of angel investment and VC. It was a different ballpark, but now you really do have to have that. And you always had to have it solidified, but more than ever, at least in the past maybe decade, honestly, that you really have to have everything solidified, all the ins and outs of what you know about what you're building, and the obsession of your customer, knowing all the metrics, the AIR, the ARR, the MRR, everything. And so it's very important to know these things. But then also, Adrian, I love what you mentioned earlier too about not really reinventing the wheel. Thinking about that level of entry, but not reinventing the wheel. And it reminded me of this rule that Virgil had, the 3% rule, if anyone's familiar, of how he said, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but maybe change just 3% of something that already exists. And some people may agree, people may disagree with it, but it showed his success of how he utilized the rule. And so just keeping that in mind too. So many folks want to feel like they're creating something very brand new that's never been done. And chances are it's something like that that exists. You just really have to find what's differentiating what you're doing. And I think that that's super important to keep in mind in this entrepreneurial journey. But for my next question, E, you had talked about this a bit earlier, so I want the folks to understand it a bit more about ACT, the aircraft compliance tool. For you all, this is pushing boundaries and certification. And so, where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI in modernizing how aerospace products are validated and approved through ACT?
I love that. So, for context, for people who don't know about ACT, it's a solution that we're building. So, ACT, it stands for Aircraft Compliance Tool. It enables people to reduce certification cost, certification time. And so, we got inspired to create ACT due to the fact that when it comes to aircraft certification, it is one of the most tedious and the most expensive things that aerospace professionals have to deal with, and it accounts for up to 40% of development costs when it comes to the building new aircrafts. And so that was something that inspired us to create, ACTS in general. And so that's one of the ways we are leveraging AI to tackle some of these complexities. And so, and also when it comes to validation and approval, if that answers your question. But also, Adrian, I'm gonna pass the mic to Adrian as well, if he wants to piggyback.
No, I think you covered all the key points with ACT. I think uh, ACT is part of Nimbus's two-part plan. So the first part plan is to do an aircraft program cheaper and faster than anyone else, and ACT is instrumental to that. The second part is to produce aircraft faster and cheaper than anyone else, and that's where you do things like using automation and additive manufacturing. So
I love it. Good stuff. This is the real deal, folks. I hope everybody online is seeing that Adrian and E are really pushing the envelope in a whole different level. And so even to that point, I want to continue to hype up what accents Nimbus from everyone else in the space or people who are currently doing something similar. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the electrification and sustainability. So just to drop some key metrics, as we talked about metrics, Nimbus aims to cut fuel burn by up to 50%. That is massive, right? So from technology to operations to policy, what is the path toward fully electric or hybrid electric air travel looks like over the next decade? How feasible does that look like for you all?
well, I mean, hybrid electric, we hope to achieve that within the next 6 years. In terms of fully electric, there are quite a few barriers for that. So one, batteries lack energy density necessary to sustain long range. Two, you've got major certification issues. And then three, you have major infrastructure readiness issues. So I think fundamentally, we don't really know if the future of air travel is going to be fully electric or fully hydrogen. But what we do know is that you do need to do something about how bad aircraft are for the environment now. And so that's why we're going for the hybrid approach. And then we're just going to continue to monitor the situation. And so our next aircraft might be a fully electric, it might be a plug-in hybrid, or it could be a hydrogen aircraft. But I think at this point in time, there's a lot of dollars going into trying to figure out what the next, I guess, big leap in aviation is going to be. And it probably isn't going to happen within the next 2 or 3 decades, right? Because even once the batteries say it goes fully electric, once batteries reach that energy density that can sustain long range, these batteries need to get certified. And that's going to take a very long time, and that's going to be very expensive. Or say it's hydrogen and we figure out how to make hydrogen at scale, then you need to get that certified as well. So there's still going to be probably a few decades where you have aircraft that are transitioning from current aircraft to hybrid. And then as technology progresses, the manufacturers are going to see, okay, looks like the market's going towards fully electric. And then those fully electric aircraft will take, maybe 7 to 10 years to get, go from clean sheet design to carrying customers. So I'm sorry, that doesn't really answer your question, but I think it's just a little bit too early to determine what that future looks like. But based off of what we know right now, it's not going to be fully electric within the next decade at least.
Yep, understood. Okay. No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer because one, I appreciate your transparency. You know how some folks will come and say, oh, yeah, we're going to get this done immediately. Just being realistic with that timeline, but also even prior to that, just what you all have been able to accomplish so far and continuing to accomplish within your set timeline has been dynamic. And so, I mean, honestly, that leads into my next question. I wanted to talk more about that speed of innovation because Adrian, you had mentioned it in E as well, on just how the dynamic of tech has shifted so significantly that one of the main advantages you all have is just the speed of innovation and development. And so, just to drop some more heavy stats for the folks, you all at Nimbus, you all have paraded that you can build aircrafts 35% faster and 30% cheaper than legacy manufacturers. So, let's talk a bit more about what internal systems, talent philosophies, or engineering practices make that possible for you all.
Do you want me to? Okay, I guess I can. So I think when it comes time to building aircraft 35% faster, that is kind of the second part that implies to producing the actual aircraft. And when it comes time to, building them 30% cheaper, that relates to using AI, right? Because certification, right, it accounts for such a it accounts for about 40%, as Anna mentioned. Um, so if you're able to reduce the certification time and certification cost, then you're able to get to that 30% number. Now, when it comes down to producing aircraft, a lot of aircraft that business jets, because some commercial airliners are using composite fuselages, but most business jets are not. What that means is that these factories are using, they're new factories, but you're still building aircraft the same way that you were building aircraft 30 years ago, right? So it takes a long time. It takes people that are highly trained. And so if you're able to use automation and composite fuselages, then you're able to build an aircraft significantly faster and cheaper because you're producing more of the aircraft. So that's really kind of how we're attacking both those things.
I love it. I feel like you made it so simple to everyone on here, even though I'm sure when they first heard the question, they're like, oh, this dude's going to get deep in the weeds. But you made it sound so simple, even though I know that it's a lot more to it, but you guys have been doing some dynamic work. So I love it. Amazing response. And also just to a quick plug for the audience as well. Of course, we want to open up for you all to ask any questions you may have. And so we'll do that at about 5:50. So feel free to drop it in the chat now. And once 5:50 hits, I'll hop in there and I'll go through those questions as well because we want to make sure you all are heard, just in case that you have any great questions that you may have for both E and Adrian. But until then, we still got about 10 minutes more left of some great questions that I want to have to continue to dive deep into Nimbus Aerospace and just your journeys and storytelling. And so, given that, for anybody that knows anything about me, you know that I love to be an advocate for HBCUs. I love my mission of just supporting founders from early stage HBCUs. I mean, early stage HBCU founders. And so, given that, I want to talk about the talent pipelines and HBCU innovation. And for those who are on the call, if you went to an HBCU, please hop in the chat. Okay, I see some folks already on it early. You should. I should have known. I should have known once we start talking university. Shout out to the Aggies, man. Okay, Fayetteville State in the building. We love to see it. I hail from the illustrious, the national treasure, Morgan State University. And so, of course, at large, our company loves to support founders across the board, but HBCUs are also near and dear to our heart because we just see that we often just, are underfunded and lack certain resources in comparison to many other universities. And so that's always my pride and joy to support founders and, be the people who I wanted to see coming through as a founder with awesome ideas, but just didn't have those resources and entrepreneurial infrastructure on my campus. And so, to pivot that to you all a bit, of course, as we know, HBCU founders continue to impact emerging technology in a significant way at the highest level, right? And so, how do we see HBCU talent contributing uniquely to AI, aerospace, and venture building in the next wave of innovation?
I love this question because as a proud HBCU alum representing the illustrious Prairie View A&M University, this
Okay,
this is incredible. Also, Nimbus is an honorary alum as well. So due to the fact that I'm on the team, we all represent PV. So Adrian's also a PV alum. It's just
that's
that
right.
PV doesn't know yet.
That's right. We love it.
We love it. We love to see it. But I love this question and also it pertains to my why as well. Like HBCU students and alum representation is very important and it will continue to increase. We are a part of that next wave behind the scenes and at the forefront, especially how like nowadays like there is more like introduction into VC entrepreneurship, all those different things in HBCUs. Obviously, yes, we have more, more work to do, of course, but we're doing a whole lot better than how it was years ago, right? Like for me, I found out about like venture capital during grad school. But nowadays people can find out about it during an undergrad, whether it's through clubs, courses or programs. Shout out to Venture for them. And so that contributes to the next wave of innovation. We are a part of that change. We are a part of that future, whether it's increasing the amount of HBC representation as investors, the people who are writing the checks, or as like sharing resources with each other about funding opportunities, or like developing and preparing that next wave of founders. It's really, really important, opening more doors for the next generation. And so for me, programs played a huge, huge role in my journey as a founder, and also just do venture as well. So like programs such as like Black Ambition, HBCU VC, HBCU Fi, and then also, we have venture for them for everyone else. So it's just like those programs are really instrumental. And obviously within the next future, there'll be more programs. And I hope to create a program as well. So stay tuned for that. And Adrian will also join me in creating that program. And so again, we are the change we wish to see and be. And so being change makers will play a pivotal role in that next wave. So
I love that. I love that. And I want to stay there just briefly. If there are any HBCU students on board who are on this call and you're inspired, you're empowered, and you just want to learn more about resources that Nimbus Aerospace may have, do you all have any current internships opening? Is that something that you all are looking for maybe in the near future, or any relationships you plan to build with any specific campuses within your specific region? Would love to learn a little bit more about that. Anything we can plug in for the students on board.
it's just crazy how like this is the perfect timing to ask this because we were just talking about this. Is like for me, I'm going to be looking for a marketing intern soon. But also we do plan to be guest speaking at more universities in 2026. So stay tuned for that. And then on the engineering side, we are still open to it as well if there's any engineers in the house for 2026. So you guys can reach out to hi, so hi at nimbusaerospace.com, but I'll also put it in the chat.
Awesome. I love that. And so please keep an eye out for the email that he's about to drop in the chat because I'm big on making sure that we can use these platforms to plug in true, tangible resources for you all. So please, as they had mentioned, I think you said marketing and engineering right there. See, we got some folks already in there. So please don't drop the ball. Please reach out to
Easy.
everyone because it's so many times where I get a really awesome resource and email and I just forget to come back to it. But like, please be intentional about these resources and the brilliance that you have right in front of you. So just wanted to plug that for everybody on. And you had mentioned a lot of great other resources from HBCU FI to both of us coming through Black Ambition, right? And so dynamic programs, if you want to learn more about those, we can drop the link in the chat to those as well. And then you had mentioned HBCU VC too. HBCU VC was dynamic in the foundation of what we do for venture for them. And that's literally same in grad school. I didn't know much about VC until I got to grad school. And HBCU VC played a critical role in that. Like I had watched Shark Tank, I kind of knew like the high level, I guess, ideas of what VC was, but they truly from the foundational level, provided that network and knowledge. And so super grateful for folks like that over there and Hadia and the team, Chelsea and the team. So we'll definitely drop these resources too for you all outside of what we also have as well. But I want to now dive a bit more. I know time is kind of ticking a bit, so please, everyone, drop any questions you may have in the chat as well for the last 10 minutes. But I want to talk a bit more about other resources for founders, even beyond HBCUs. I want to talk a bit more about accelerators and fellowships and how specifically, your Techstars experience catapulted your journey. So both of you all, of course, have Techstars experience. How should founders think about choosing the right accelerator? I know a lot of founders are anti-accelerator. They're all accelerated out. They're tired of it. But then there are some where they're like, this changed the game for me. This changed everything. And so please tell us more about that, even maybe specifically a Techstars experience, but especially in a society when you're building AI, aerospace, and other deep tech ventures collectively. How do you determine what accelerator is truly for you, if one at all is really for you?
Yeah, I love this question so much. For context, I used to work at Techstars, and then, like Adrian mentioned, Nimbus went through Techstars. To be more specific, we were a part of the same. How do I even describe it, Adrian? So
Our class, I think, is what the
yeah, the
class, right?
same.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's how we met and everything. So we're gonna answer it from both sides, which is really really cool. So working with investors, and then also just being a part of the program as well. Um, not how do I say all accelerators are not created equally, right? And so you have to do your due diligence. A lot of good investors will do their due diligence on you. So you have to make sure it's kind of like similar to dating, right? So you have to get to know like the program, who's leading the program, all those different things, the investment terms, like, not all money is good money as well. So doing your due diligence is super, super important. And also the quality of your experience is determined by the office location, who's running the program, also your sector as well. Like for me, I would highly recommend people to find accelerators or the offices of the accelerators that correlate to their sector. So if you are creating a fintech company, what are some accelerators that cater to fintech, right? Because again, that accelerator and that program, they're going to have partners and investors that correlate to that niche, and it's super, super helpful. So, but I'll pass the mic to Adrian.
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot about what Anna said about choosing the right accelerator. It definitely does come down to location as well as the people that are running the accelerator. I think one of the benefits that we got from going through Techstars that we hadn't really foreseen prior to Techstars was that starting a company is hard, right? And we knew that it'd be hard, but just being able to be surrounded by, I think there were 12 other companies in our class, and being able to be surrounded by them for 3 months, especially during a time when we were working on building our first aircraft that flew the 110 scale aircraft, it gives you that sense of community uh, that just makes it a little bit easier, right? After a hard day, you can hang out with someone that is also going through similar things, right? And so when you're putting out multiple forest fires and you're having like a dinner with someone at the end of the day, they're also putting out multiple forest fires, and it's like, okay, this isn't so lonely as it seems, because being a founder is lonely because a lot of people can't relate to what you're doing. So that was one of the best parts about going through Techstars. I think another great part about going through Techstars is that we did meet a lot of people from Techstars, and so we met some mentors. It did give us a stamp of credibility that we didn't have prior to Techstars. Um, so overall, I would recommend a startup accelerator if you go to the right one. And then lastly, if you don't get into the accelerator that you want to go to, that does not mean that you have a bad idea, and that does not mean that you should stop working on your idea. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. And critical too, because they have a set number of people. Sometimes there's biases in the application process. For a fact, that's just what happens across the board in everything, And so I absolutely echo that, Adrian. Don't get discouraged if you don't get in the accelerator of your dreams. Sometimes you may have dodged a bullet. It may not exactly be what you think, sometimes smoke and mirrors. And so our team has done also various accelerators and fellowships. And to you all's point, that community, that sense of community has always been one of the core benefits of it. The mentorship that we receive, how those folks are often advocating for us in rooms we're not even in, has been super significant. But then also, like you said, that stamp of credibility, whether it's, Techstars, YC, Generator, some of those larger accelerators, also kind of validates a bit more to get and potential investors a bit more comfortable, not just to give that stamp of approval and say, hey, your idea matters, because your idea matters even whether you get in or not. But from an investor level, I feel a little more comfortable contributing my money to what you're building because someone else of validation and notoriety has done the same. And so keep that in mind, please, founders. But also, like Adrian has said and E had said, don't get super discouraged because you didn't get in one. Even when I think about Black Ambition, well, not Black Ambition, but another program through Thurgood Marshall College Fund, they gave our seed funding to start venture for them. I did not get in that program. It was called the Hennessy Fellows Program, which was instrumental in our foundation. And I did not get in the first year, and I was bummed out. And I'm like, I'm just not applying again, and because I gave my all the first round. But I'm so grateful that we ended up going back and applying, and that was instrumental in the initial capital we received, the initial mentorship, and as you had said, Adrian, that stamp of approval to be backed by a big brand. And so, just super grateful for that. So if all that to say, if you don't get in on that first try, please apply again if it's in you, or apply to something else. But don't give up. Just keep going and going. And also, folks have to realize that like VC is not the only way to get funding, and it is not. It shouldn't always be the first route that you take. It should be when you really need to take it, if you have to take it. And so, keep in mind things like pitch competitions and accelerators, and even thinking about just revenue sometimes being that golden that golden resource initially. And so just keeping those things in mind. But great responses from the both of you. I know I did say last 10 minutes for our audience, so please start to drop any questions in the chat. But I do want to close out for you all with one last question from my end. and it is Vision 2035. As we think 10 years in the future, imagine it's 2035. How has aerospace and AI transformed everyday life for the average person? Whether it's transportation, whether it's workforce development and global connectivity, what does that look like? And what roles do today's founders play in shaping that reality?
Yeah, I'll keep my answer brief because I know we have to make space for Q&A. But founders play a huge role in that. A lot of the solutions we use today are created by founders. And so they're going to play a critical role in the advancement of AI, aerospace, and a lot of the industries that we all represent. And so I think there's no time like the present to be a founder. So yeah, I'm gonna pass my mic to Adrian.
I think, I am very excited for the year 2035. I think by 2035, there's going to be a lot of new interesting things flying, and it's just going to be fun to look up and see them flying. Um, yeah, but I think also 2035, in the sense of like aerospace, that's not that far off, right? Like some of these things that are being worked on right now, they're gonna probably just be starting their production ramp. So I would say I look more forward to like 2040, 2045. And I think at that point, we're really going to start to see change where the amount of emissions that that the aircraft emit is going to be dropping, which is going to be really exciting. But
Mhm.
also, hopefully, the price of ticket will go down and the amount of places you can go will go up, right? So really the last time this happened is when the 787 came out and all of a sudden like secondary or third cities were now being able to be connected nonstop.
Mhm. Yep.
As new fuel efficient aircraft come online, we're going to be able to fly places that are, 300 miles away, easily and cheaply. And so I think that's what I'm excited about as well. So
That's exciting. That's exciting. This is the future, folks. You're seeing it in real time. It'll be 2035, and you'll look back like, man, I remember I was on that Zoom with E and Adrian, and look at it now. And so this is awesome. I do want to now pass it over to our audience. I see Aria, you have one in the chat. What is some advice that you guys would give when it comes to protecting your IP on a budget? Great question, Aria.
Yeah, that is actually a really great
yeah,
question. I kind of don't want to like be like the person repeating the same things, but like programs have been helpful. So for instance, like for Greentown Labs, which is based in Houston, like they kind of like they have like a law firm that they work with that can provide like, legal services to the startups that they help to fund. And so like a lot of these programs, they have like, legal services that can help like either do registration for you or provide like that legal services for you, like on a budget so you don't have to pay. So I would, for your sector, I would do the due diligence of finding what accelerators or programs that have that type of benefit as well. That's like one of the ways, but there's other ways, of course, as well.
yeah. And some law firms also offer credits. So one of the law firms that we met through Techstars gave us a $10,000 credit to sign up with them. So IP is expensive, right? But like Anna said, there are ways to lower that, but just make sure that even if you think it's, maybe costing too much, maybe get a second opinion, but it definitely is worth spending the money to get your IP properly protected as well.
Absolutely. Great responses. And even to kind of double tap on that a bit more, I remember coming through Black Ambition, they connected us with Cooley as well. And I know they have a lot of different founder programs and resources. So definitely some good ones to keep in mind. And we'll try to drop these links before this event closes out, just so that you guys can continue to save some of those links and bookmark them and reach out to some of these companies and fellowships and programs. But anyone else, though, I know we have about 5 minutes left. Any other questions, you can drop it in the chat. You can come off mute, but wanted to open up for the audience. I do have a quick question that came to mind when you were talking about the future of flight, Adrian. I remember seeing recently that like airplanes are considering taking away seats and doing like a price point where folks just stand up the whole flight, and it looked mad uncomfortable. The mock-up that they showed looked insane, but feel free to E or Adrian to hop in. Have you seen that? Is
No,
that in the plans for Nimbus Aerospace at all, or
no,
not at all?
no. I think fortunately for us, uh, you know, we have the FAA, and you have to be able to evacuate an aircraft within, depending on the size, but we'll say 60 seconds, right? And the large aircraft right now, you're basically just meeting those time frames. So if you
Yeah.
remove all those seats and add in more people, you either have to add in a bunch more doors so that people can get out, or you're just not going to meet those evacuation timelines. So I don't really foresee a future where people are standing in aircraft. I mean, one, the safety issue, but also um, aircraft are, it's, you're not going to save that much money. And I don't think
Right.
many people are going to want to pay for that. But I think the regulators are also going to prevent that from happening. So, yep.
Good news. That's relieving because I'm like, please don't adopt this. But I know we only have about 3 minutes left, so I do want to close out with this last question here from Kyrie, I believe. And so, what role does interdisciplinary thinking play in your work, and how do you deliberately cultivate perspectives outside of your core expertise? Great question.
This is an amazing question. And I'll keep it brief because I would love for Adrian to answer this as well. It plays a huge role for me. And for I love listening to podcasts. And so especially from like founders. So like for me, some of my favorite founders include like Pinky Cole, Von Weaver, Robert F. Smith. And so just listening to different entrepreneurial podcasts, whether it's on your leisure, social proof podcasts, I'm agreed. Like getting other perspectives and learning from people's mistakes and successes, it will do a lot for you in your journey. So that's how I do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the problem. Anna and I tend to agree on a lot of things. And so I would agree with her on this as well. I think one of the most important things is you just need to be curious, right? And know what you don't know, and really like you know a lot less than you think you actually do know. And it's okay because no one should be in charge of everything. You should have experts surrounding you. And you don't have to listen to all of your experts, but you should hear what they say. And then just understand that you're going to wear multiple hats. So you're going to have to listen to other people, learn from them, and just get comfortable with making decisions that you might not have been comfortable with maybe even an hour ago after the new information that you learned. And if you make the wrong decision, it's a setback, but you move forward, you figure out what went wrong, you fix it, and then at the end of the day, you have a retro and you talk over what went wrong and you try not to do that again.
That's really good. I love it. Stay curious, stay a student of the game. That's a great response. I know Miles, you've been hanging in there with us, so I'll have this as our last question. Miles said, when it comes to marketing and advertising the jet, who is your target audience in mind when you're creating it?
Yeah, so we're gonna combine the Aria's question and Miles' question because it kind of goes together. And so
It does.
this is my mind just working here. So Adrian's gonna answer the target audience one, and I'll just answer the approaches to take it to market very quickly. So some of the ways include digital marketing and in person, as well as ads. That's our intention. So showing up at different like conferences, whether it's being panel speakers or experiential, showcasing like ads digitally. Also debuting like what we're creating at like conferences. Like we just debuted ACT at High Sky in front of over 300 plus aerospace professionals. And so doing a mix of those things, organic and paid. And I'll pass the mic to Adrian for the target audience question.
Yeah, so our first aircraft, the N1000, is a light jet. So I don't know how many people know about the different classes of business jet, but you can think of it like a very small business jet would be considered a very light jet, and then there's a light jet, and then mid-size, super mid-size, large cabin, and then ultra long range. So we are at the low end of that market. And so typically people who buy light jets fly at least 150 hours a year plus. They have a budget of between 7 to 11 million dollars, and they do trips under 1,000 miles. And so that's the target that we're going after.
Some great response. I see that you all were able to drop your emails too, which is perfect. I just dropped your LinkedIn's in. So everyone, please give them a round of applause to both E and Adrian. Sounds like some folks are super excited for Nimbus and how to take advantage when available. So please stay connected, whether as a future customer, whether as a potential intern. Please save their emails. Please connect with them on LinkedIn. But this was a dynamic session. I see some good claps, some good reactions coming in. So I feel like a lot of people got a lot of value out of this, and I absolutely did. So it's a pleasure having you all here. Any closing words, Ian, Adrian, before we let our good audience go?
Honestly, just stay tapped in. We got a lot of cool things coming up. Check us out on social. So Nimbus Aerospace. check out our website, nimbusaerospace.com. I dropped our emails in the chat, so if there's any questions you may have, whether it pertains to aerospace, entrepreneurship, or like navigating grad life, anything that comes to your mind, just let us know. So yeah.
Yeah, I would just say thank you. And honestly, I think the advice that we gave in the beginning is start asking why not me?
Yeah.
Because we need more people out there doing this type of stuff. And it doesn't have to be aerospace, it can be whatever you're interested in. But just try to lose that thought that you can't do it because you can do it. And we'll be here cheering you on from the sides.
That's good. That's a great mic drop moment. So I will not hold anything else up. I appreciate you all being here. Amazing job to our panelists and everyone who has joined us today. Please have a great night, and we'll stay connected with you all for our next session. Have a good
Thank you
one,
so
everyone.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
guys.